Rex Gerstner from Unlocking Doors. He is a post-release reentry specialist. There we go. And I'll be chatting with him about what Unlocking Doors does, how they serve our community, and what resources they have for job seekers with a criminal background. If you have any questions, please put your questions in the chat. We'll go ahead and answer them as we have time. We should definitely be able to answer your questions. Please keep yourself muted, and we'll get to your questions. So once again, Rex, thank you for joining us here with Dallas Jobseekers Club, the Dallas Public Library. If you would just start for us, tell me about Unlocking Doors, what you do in the area, and where you work in the state of Texas.
Yes. Thank you for having me. Unlocking Doors has been around for over 10 years, and we are total reentry. So anybody who's got a criminal background, we are here to assess from employment, housing, transportation, medical, mental health care, anything that they need to be self-sustaining in their future. And what does that look like? How is that going to affect me? What are my possibilities out here in the community? I think more so when I first started 4 years ago. Been here for 4 years because I retired from the Board of Pardons and Parole. I worked for TDCJ and I retired from there. And the resources just weren't out here. And we were lucky to get these people into a $7.25 an hour job. And we expect them to make it in the community at $7.25 an hour and be successful, because I love how they just send people out to say, there you go. But there's more out there. What was out there? What's more? This $7.25 isn't going to happen, because I know it takes $22.65 an hour just to maintain an apartment, just the apartment in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And so we started unlocking doors per se, unlocking and finding where the rocks are. Where can these people get a better paying job than $7.25 an hour, not through a temp agency? What is it? How am I going to maintain? What type of schooling? What type of vocational trades that I could possibly look to get into? That's going to be that I can move on to my career. So eventually I can rent that apartment for 2 years, but after 2 years of steady employment, you can actually buy your own place. And so how am I going to be able to do that? Where am I going to fit out in the world with everything? And that's what we're here to do, is get them on their path. That's why we partner with everybody. We've got over 280 plus partners, and we still are finding partners that want to work with us. And we think it's wonderful because we don't provide case manage here. We don't provide case management. You're going to have a broker assigned to you because they already do case management out here in the community. You're going to be case managed to death, and you don't need us along that way. You just need us to know that I need counseling to become a better father. So we've got Buckner Family Services that we can send you to. I want to get a new trade. But oh, by the way, I love computers. And I just had an individual here that was into the black dance programs. And guess what went away? Their jobs. And you like theater, you like the computers. Well, because of your crime, you're not going to be able to get into an office type job. Where can I go fit in? Where's that going to be at? So after talking to him, we came up with a plan of Richland College has got an excellent gaming program. So when the theater starts coming back and he picks up more gigs, he could be working as a programmer, as a gaming programmer that does no criminal background checks with the programs that are out there, and it's self-sustaining. You know, one guy, he said, how much money do you make? He goes, well, I'm just built a brand new pool in my backyard that me and my kids are going to be using, my wife, you know, for the summer, if that tells you anything, and I'm not in debt. So there's a lot of possibilities out there. If somebody says, I want to get into trade, where, you know, what does that look like for me? You know, can you stand up, sit down for long periods of time? If you're athletic, okay, we can go ahead and send you to any of the trades out there, but there's also sitting trades also that people are looking for. Manufacturing, huge. coming out there with their program out there making anywhere from $40,000 to $60,000 a year. You are looking at welding. That takes a knack. That's a partner that we send you down to Dallas College because they got an excellent program there. Once again, background friendly. But there are so many possibilities out there for those individuals. You just have to be open to it. And where do I fit in this world? Where's this new me? Especially, you're told that you're bad. You're told that you can't get into certain things. You're told that with a criminal background, there's a lot of barriers, but we overcome those barriers when they're here. And we have to be realistic with those barriers too. I don't want to send somebody to get their social work degree and I've got 7 felonies, and oh, by the way, they're not going to license me. And then you come out with $120,000 in debt and still can't find your place. I was more angry, not at the individual, partly, but at the school to allow that you should have been able to pull that individual's record to say, can you get into this field? Because if you're paying $5, $60, $120,000 in debt, that's a lot of money. And people, if I can't get into a license or can't get into a job like that, we're going to definitely steer you away from that field. But if you want to go ahead and try it, that's your personal choice. So, it all depends what individuals want to do. And I let them know of all the possibilities. It used to be we didn't have hardly anything. Warehouse is the big boom with the COVID that's going on. That's not going to change. That is not going to change. But those warehouse jobs are about $10 to $15, $16 an hour. Well, I'm still missing that gap from that $22.65 an hour. Where am I going to fit at that warehouse? Logistics. I've got a program over in Fort Worth, and there's one over here at one of the Dallas colleges has that. I can't remember. I work with John Benson with Redemption Bridge. And so we're working with them to say, what do you have over here? Because once you get into logistics, especially logistics management, you're looking at making $50 an hour. So I tell people, it's just not what you learn at that warehouse. It's going to that next step of logistics. Where's that truck going to go to? Who's going to bring in the product? Where's that product going to go to? Setting all that stuff up, they need help doing that because there's not enough people to do that. Because with COVID, and it's still going to be here for a very long time, it's not going to go away. And with the millennials, they're looking at, what can I buy? What can I get to deliver? I've got to tell you, now I'll go to the store and get it. Now I have everything delivered, pretty much. And it's just like, I'm online. I don't know how that truck gets there the next day. Somebody's got to go ahead and get that product in there, set it all up. So there's a huge thing with logistics right now. We're 30,000 people short in trades right now in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. 30,000 people short. Because what we did through time, when I went to school, showing my age, when I was 3 years old, actually, got a laugh there. We had to learn woodworking. We had to learn welding. We had to learn metal. We had to learn all those things. And back in the 80s, people took over and they said, oh, trades. Ooh, no, we don't want trades. We want to push education. Well, we pretty much flipped the trades off. So we don't need these trade schools. We need to close them. We don't need our tax dollars going to them. Now what we've done is made a big gap of 30,000 people short in trades. I'm just telling you what people call me, and municipalities, for instance. We think of our water department, the sewer and water department. We know that the baby boomers are retiring in record numbers. Collin County's got a program that they will put you through school at, and you'll come out with a job, even with a background. I just had a sex offender that just got a job with Garland, their waste maintenance program over there. That says a lot about the retirement ages that are coming up. that we're going to be in a crisis if we don't start fixing and addressing some of these things that are out here. Not everybody's out for, not everybody's needing a job in a office. Everybody says office, office, office. Well, for some people who haven't had a job in an office, it's difficult to manage that office, going to an office 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 and stay in that chair and you do this and you do that. Not everybody's cracked up to do that. It takes special people, I think, to be in that quote unquote office. And a lot of people say, I want the office job because it's stable. Well, all these other trades are very, very stable out here.
Right.
So
And you've
yes.
mentioned, yeah, you've mentioned trades, you've mentioned warehouse logistics. Are there other fields or other career paths that are really promising in the North Texas area?
I think the trades are more promising right now because of what's going on with Amazon's hiring like mad.
Sure.
Bed Bath and Beyond. We have gone from, and even the grocery stores, look how they're now delivering like mad. It used to be, I went to a grocery store, I'd see these people around with these carts. What does this mean? It's logistics. They're putting into people's groceries and actually sending them out. And they're always in the store. Every time I go to the grocery store, there's people there. Office type of setting jobs, degreed, would be through the issues that I'll be looking at of where do I fit in. And I'm having a brain fart right now of where I send people to the LDC for drug and alcohol, paralegal. But I tell people, we got to find out that paralegal course, you're going to spending $5,000 for it. Can you get in with that? Can you get a job with an attorney? And I have people that want to get into these things that we're not used to. Let's research that first before we send you someplace, because you've got to be successful. I can't have you guys come out with debt. And I'm very, very cheap. All these programs I like that are going to be paid for through the WIA or the counties, the municipalities are doing something. We try to get them into those things. And I know that we've got a few older people here, adults with medical issues. What's jobs available for them? That's when I send up to DARS. They're with TWC now, but they merged with them. I like to go in to say, where's DARS? Let me make a contact over there. Kathy, what do you have? This person can't sit for long, can't stand for long periods of time. They can't do any heavy lifting. What can they do? And we work with them closely to see what's out there for them. Because older adults, we're seeing that for the job seekers to be laid off from the workforce is harder for them to get back into the business or get into a field because of the age discrimination that's going on. But I tell a lot of the employers you want the older adults because they're going to stay longer. I just read an article where the baby boomers are looking at retiring at age 70. They're waiting much, much longer to retire than they have done in the past because they feel much younger. I'm the same way. I don't see myself leaving here. Probably going to have to take my fingernails off the wall when I retire from here, me leaving, because it's always refreshing, rewarding. I'm keeping that mind going compared to if I just stayed at home and did nothing, because it's our self-worth. And we got to look at our self-worth of what does that look like and where am I going to fit with all those things. So somebody with an older person with medical issues, that was one up there. What jobs available to them? I'd have to research that. I know that I don't know everything, but I can tell you that it's based on the crime. It's based on what they can and can't do. All of that. And there is no age limit here. There is no age limit here at Unlocking Doors. I just had a 70-year-old man complete his CDL. He was in prison for 25 years, got his driver's license, worked on that, got his CDL. He's loving it. He's got a job. Somebody to come to at 70 years old. They're like, wow. I've had people with disabilities come in here to say, I'm looking for an apartment. I'm looking for this or I'm looking for that. you just never know what that we get calls on. You never know every day of family members calling us to say, I'm looking for an apartment, or I'm looking for a shared housing. I just had a family member call me not too long ago, because I work for the board. I know the ins and outs, that their loved one was dying in TDCJ. They couldn't find a place. What do we do? How do we get somebody out? It's making those calls to those individuals and making, hey, I need this person. I need you to do this. This is where we can go ahead and place it, because I've come with a lot of experience. But it is so rewarding when you come here, because you just never know who you get to work with. And it's just like, oh, I got somebody here today, a gal came in, and I just need a job. I can't make it on the $325 child support, and I've got domestic violence. Where do I go? I've got places for them to go. And so the hardest offenses to find is actually sex offenders. I tell people, and I work with employees every single day, that you want those sex offenders working, because they're going to be the most loyal. They are not going to give you any type of trouble. They're going to show up, and they're more educated than any other group that I have in prison. They're very, very, very smart. And so we look at that for them. What is that? A sex offender is, we call them SOs. So that's what that means, Kathy. I hope that answers your question there. But our sex offenders they do have challenges. Why are they smarter? Because of their degrees. You look at them, they're older. They are excellent at manipulating. I can tell you, when I get a sex offender over the phone, before I even pull up their record, because we pull everybody's cases up, I can tell right away that I'm working with a sex offender just based on their personality. But they're good at it. That's why they've been getting away with it for so long. But it's something I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to sit there and say which ones, I'm not going to work or will work. I know some organizations do not work with sex offenders, and that's why we're here. We work with everybody. That was one thing I said, is we have to work with everybody here. When I came on board, we cannot pick and choose. And I know at one time Unlocking Doors did pick and choose, but that's changed, and we take everybody, because everybody needs the help, but it's like, where are they going to go to be successful? What's out there for them? And I've got a lot of places that do hire individuals. And there's a lot of opportunity out there for them too.
That's great that Unlocking Doors is really open to helping everybody, because no matter the offense, somebody needs to work, somebody needs a living, needs a place to live, and that those things don't change. So I'm really glad that you guys are here and doing that work. One thing I wanted to circle back to that you mentioned before was, you often will steer the people that you're working with towards training programs that are free, or that they exit without any debt. Can you expand a little bit more on that and talk about those resources that are available in this area specifically, and those types of places that you steer people towards?
Yes, we use the WIA grant is excellent at getting people into getting the training that they need. And I'm very clear, you only get to use the WIA grant. That's just with the Texas Workforce Solutions. And that grant is based on the need of the community. So if you've got over 300 cosmetologists, and I want to become a barber. Well, cool. You're going to be poor for the next 10 years before you build up your business. And it's not what it's on television about. It's going to be a while before you move those things up. That's why WIA does not pay for any of that stuff. They're going to be in debt when they go into that school, because that tells me that it's saturated, the field is saturated. It's when the field is not saturated that the WIA will pay for that. As a matter of fact, I've got a heavy equipment machinery operator program I sent 6 individuals to over in Fort Worth. The WIA paid for that. They also have a special scholarship for anybody who is poor, meet the poverty guidelines, criminal background, and there was something else that they do that we've gotten them into that. All the colleges offer all that stuff because generally these people do not have the income that they can go right in and get them started with the Pell Grants and the scholarships there at the colleges. And I know Byron over at Bill Priest Center there was working with the community with his welding program of we will pay for this individual to come in. We just want them experience that they can experience so we can keep them going so they don't have to worry about applying for grants, applying for these things. They're just setting them up right away so they can start their process. Trade schools, I'm very, very picky about them. Some of them will get people in there and not tell them, oh, by the way, we've applied for loans. You're going to sign everything on the dotted line. I let people, I've got some here that I know that's what they do. And so I steer people away from that. I just said, oh, by the way, I want you to be aware of what they do. So when you're signing that paperwork, you need to know what it is that you're signing. Just don't go in there and sign. And don't let them say it will take care of that. But there's the WIA, there's Pell Grants, all the community colleges, not longer community colleges, all the colleges now here in Dallas offer those grants to the individuals. And they are eligible for it because it's a second chance grant. So there's still millions of dollars out there that these individuals can place right now, can get into these things. So
that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like a lot of these resources you mentioned that the people you work with will come and meet with one of what you guys call broker. And so you guys are basically doing all of this legwork of finding the resources that, you know, would take that are out there, that are available, but are not necessarily easy to find if you don't know what you're looking for. So
that's what the majority of our people come in here and did not know the possibilities, because they're told things when they leave TDCJ, Texas Department of Criminal Justice, in the prisons, that when they get out here, they're just at loss. Especially, I've got a 20 guy that went in at 14, got out spent 20 years in prison. Thank God his record's sealed. You know, now he's lost. I'm sure he did a lot of back talking with the guards. He came out he was deaf. He's got major hearing loss in his left ear. That happens. Well, you need to go over here to DARS. And so we've got these resources that we give them to make sure that they made it from point A to point B.
Would you say just briefly what DARS is?
DARS is Disability Assisted Services. It is mandated by the federal government. It's not going to go away. That every state has it, and it's to help anybody who's got a disability to access to get back into the workforce program. And it is free, and they provide a lot of services. So if somebody needs glasses, you know, guy, I haven't had any glasses, you need an eye exam. Well, that's going to cost money. I don't have any money. I can barely make it on my own. Well, we've got a program over here that can help with that. We also have the University of Houston has got their eye optical place here off of Cedar Springs, but they're not seeing anybody right now. So I've got to wait even longer. So that's more frustrating, you know, for them of, oh, I didn't know this is it. Teeth, you know, we smile. A lot of our ladies coming out of TDCJ have dealt with the ladies coming out of our prison system have already got physical, emotional, and sexual abuse. It is like 93%, I would say, coming out with those three things. What do? Spiral out of control, go do drugs. We did that meth, we did those drugs. I didn't take care of myself, and now I need teeth. Well, we've got Dress for Success. You know, you can enroll in a class there, and they've got partners that they work with in the community to help with the teeth, especially smiling. You know, it helps their self-esteem. I get that. DARS doesn't offer it. I wish they would. But I do send people over there because I know at least they're going to be able to get that there for them. So there's another partner that we work with. A lot of these trade programs that I am talking about, the transportation is already included with all that stuff. They do offer gas cards and they do offer bus passes to get them to and from those trades. If you enroll at the Dallas College, you get the free bus, you get the bus pass for life. I mean, not for life, I'm sorry, for each semester that you're there. You don't have to worry about that next bus pass where I'm going to go ahead and get to and from where I need to get to. We do provide bus passes here at Unlocking Doors. Got a guy that's working at Amtex. Said I can get to work. I got the job, but I can't get to work. Well, it's going to be a while before you get paid. So why don't we give you some bus passes to get you to and from? You give me a call on Friday. I'll meet you someplace. Let's drop the bus passes off. So you've got a couple checks behind you. So when that second check comes, save that $95 so you can buy a monthly bus pass, or put it on your smartphone so you can get to and from that job. So we help them with the finances with all that stuff too. Let's look at all this stuff.
And you mentioned, I know you mentioned a couple of programs, training programs that are out in Fort Worth. Are those available for people who are living in Dallas? And are you able to get transportation out there?
We have an office
Okay.
over in Fort Worth. We have an office in we cover the surrounding North Texas region.
Okay.
So if somebody calls me from Sherman, I know some places that are Tyson Foods is hiring out there right away. You know, that's a warehouse. It's just to get you started. In the meantime, let's look at, I got you that job. I know you probably don't want to stay there forever, especially if they don't have any benefits. And so let's look at that next step of what's in the community that is a big need out there. And the workforce boards will tell me if I call them up to say, hey, what's going on up there in the area, I'll know right away. Because we do have access to the commissioners of the workforce, Texas Workforce Commission. And it is nice to have to say, I'm looking for something. I've got I need, this is what I've got. They can tell me what to start looking for, or who to at least make a call to. I always learned there's somebody you can make a call to. And it shouldn't take me that long. I do ask. So anybody referred to us, we no, they are not automatically referred to us for upon release from prison. We advertise in the Echo magazine that they put out. It's a newspaper that they put out 6 times a year. We are in Echo. A lot of it's word of mouth. Sometimes people will say, hey, what's out there? The family members will call. I've got a spiel of, I send out a letter to them, you know, along with our flyer, along with how everything works here for them. So they've got a piece of paper, because one thing that these inmates love is when they get mail. And that means a lot to them. And I can tell you hundreds and hundreds of times, like, you guys wrote me. It means a lot, because they don't get a lot of mail. They don't get, you know, the family, they're living with the girlfriend, they go to prison, and, oh, you're going to be there for a long time. Oh, the girlfriend starts, I've left, I found somebody else. They move on. Mama and daddy can't get down there like they used to. And so everything drops off. And a lot of times I don't want to write my child, you know, it hurts too much, or, you know, they don't sometimes just get mail. And for some people, it's difficult, especially when you come in of just trying to keep organized. I know I would have problems. If you got the money, a lot of them do, they are allowed to use the phone, which is great. But it's just the process of NTDCJ. And it's a big area. As you see my map behind me, I used to travel to all those prisons. I know them all very, very well. And what prisons were set. So if somebody tells me I went to the Gory unit, I'm going to know right away you're a sex offender. If they went as some of the units, I'll know what medical units you've got a medical problem, because we just don't send you to these places. Or at the Boyd unit down in Tig, that's the ages of 45 to 55-year-olds that we put them to. We've got several nursing homes. So I know where they've been, what they've done can tell me what's their possibilities. And we do use their experience that they had in TDCJ as a trustee of mowing, doing mechanical work, that can all still be used, keeping the floors clean. They do have the prettiest floors though in TDCJ. I'll give them credit for that. Always shiny there. The process, how long does it take? We get you in right away. I had an interview with a lady called yesterday. She sent me her stuff. I said, I'm going to call you today at 11:30, call a little bit later. She wanted a job. I enrolled her into our program. Very, very simple. It's not the long process yet. There's going to be some assessments that's going to be coming back. That will come at a later date. And I referred her to 3 places I know that she can go to today and start a job. Now, when I said, let's start about logistics and things like that, she said to me, all I want is a job. So there we go. Another challenge is housing. Housing is I get every calls every single day about housing. It used to be, it still is. It used to be we had more housing than we had jobs. Now it's switched. So that switched, but housing is a huge challenge for anybody who's got a criminal history. I tell people, you've got shared housing. Everybody wants to get their own apartment, but what does that take to get that apartment? Where are you going to find the furniture? How much is that going to cost? They think they can just move into this apartment, they're good, but you have to say, how are you going to take a shower? What about that towel that you're going to need? Where are you going to sleep at night? I mean, you're going to sleep on the hardwood floors? And I actually had one of my inmates, I went to the house, the apartment that this officer approved, and I thought, what in the blankety blank is going on here? You wanted out of your nursing home that I had put you at, went behind my back, which I didn't appreciate. It took care of that problem. I said, you're going right back to where you came from because of your poor planning. He was sleeping on the floor. There was no dishes. There was no food. Like, what are you thinking? Well, I got my own place. That's not your own place, son. You got to go back. We got to go ahead and come up with a plan that you will actually have a bed, that you'll have a bath chair, and that I can take a shower with, that you'll have something to wipe off with. What about your laundry? Who's going to be doing all that stuff? A lot of them don't plan these things. So we have to discuss there is shared housing. I can send you over to Cleveland Green. He's got houses all over the Dallas-Fort Worth area that they can go to, spend $600 a month. A lot of them are saying that's a lot of money. I know it maintains $1,200 is the average size of an apartment, just the average cost of an apartment. So really I can get you a $600 a month apartment in a crap neighborhood, roach and rat infested, and probably in a gang area that was probably an old crack house. So we have to plan all that stuff. But like I tell them, after 2 years of steady employment, this is what we got to start thinking about your future is that you can buy your own place. And one thing they can't ask on an application is do you have a criminal history? They cannot ask that. And people cannot be denied where they want to live at, especially if they're going to buy something. Unlike with somebody who's renting. So I tell people, I'd be looking at condominiums. There's so much opportunity out here. So it all depends. Like I say, we still work with them. We do have a list. I do know some places that do take people, but sometimes if I live in South Dallas and I work in North Dallas, it's going to take me 3 hours on the bus, 2 to 3 hours on the bus just to get the job, work the 8-hour shift or 10-hour shift and take that long ride home. I had a gal that she works at Park. She got a job at Parkland Hospital. You have to be up at 3:30 in the morning to catch that bus to be at work at 7 because you got to get ready because of where she lives at. And she's going to be working her 10-hour shift. And then she's going to be taking that bus back and the buses. And then I'm going to have to walk probably a half mile to get to my place in a not so good neighborhood. So I told her, I says, let's continue that. But in the meantime, let's see what a little bit up this way in the area that she's living at, that we can get her into a job that's making about the same type of money, that maybe look at the trades for her that she can get into. So she's not struggling with that transportation, because transportation is a big thing.
Absolutely.
But I do know that we've got On the Road Lending. They're a partner of ours that we use. They help people get into a car. And we also have Hertz Rent-A-Car is filed for bankruptcy. They were selling a lot of their product because they had so much product on board, especially after the COVID hit, that they had to file for bankruptcy. They had to get rid of their cars, and they were doing the financing. They had like over a dozen companies that they were working with to finance the cars. So there's a lot of possibilities, because I know if I take the bus, I'm going to go in about a 5-mile radius for a job. If I get that car, I can get into a 10-mile radius with an increase of pay. That has already that was part of one of the presentations with On the Road Lending put up there, which I did not know. I thought, wow, that's good to know. So like that. Contact with us. We do a lot of contact. I am on the phone. I can tell you I probably can end up making 20, 25 calls a day, checking up with people. Did you make it here? Did you make it there? After 3 contacts, we pretty much don't call you back. That tells me you guys aren't interested in the program. You got what you needed. I'm hoping you got what you needed, but we're always here. We will always be here. We will close them out, the individuals out, especially after 3 contacts. What's going on? And we don't do them every hour on the hour. It's generally a week later. I'm going to give you a call. Don't answer that phone. Give you another call a week later. I had a lady that called me yesterday. She hadn't talked to her since March. Cool. What's going on? How can I help you? And she just said, I want to let you know I'm still here. I still need your service, but I'm not ready yet. Whenever you're ready, give me a call. Because I still want you to succeed, because I don't want you back in TDCJ. Yeah, it's $22,000 just for somebody in TDCJ per person. You know, if you've got any mental health, it's about 25,000, and you've got any type of medicals, it's right about 30,000 for that individual to house that individual. So we want to keep the recidivism rate low. That's what we do here at Unlocking Doors, because that's the way it's going to work. But that's why we talk about the trades. That's why we talk about how much it's going to take. And we have conversations with them here and on the phone of, did you know how much it's going to take just to maintain an apartment? And a lot of people don't know. And well, I want the cheapest one. Okay, you're going to go to back to the same neighborhoods, back to the same things. They do all of that stuff there, and they're going to end up right back in the system, which we don't want. We have to talk about having positive relationships with people too. You know, domestic violence is huge. Family violence is huge. What happened? Wasn't my fault. What do you mean it wasn't your fault? It takes 2. Why you can't choose wisely. You shouldn't be in a relationship. So we got to talk about relationship issues sometimes when they're here. Because when it comes to domestic violence, that's going to be another thing that we have to discuss. That's why we use people. You know, that's why we send them over to our partners that can help them with that.
I'm going to interrupt you here just for a second, Rex. I see some messages here from Kathy Hirsch.
Yeah, Kathy Hirsch. She's a partner. We talk to Kathy all the time.
Great. She said she can't hear the meeting, but to give people her information if they need her. What
she is good.
Okay.
And
What kind of services does she provide?
She does the DARS. So it's
okay.
all, DARS, TWS. I know, vocational rehabilitation service.
There we go. That's what
there we
it
go.
is, yeah.
Vocational rehabilitation services. I remember the old DARS, Kathy. So it's got to be work related. Like I said, the hearing aids. Work. I can get at your job. I can't hear. I can't see. Okay, let's get you glasses. They might need special devices, but it's got to be work related. You know, I've got a client of mine that is going to get his license, his electrical license. He needs somebody to help pay for his books. and get him his to and from the trade school, which is now online, thank God. So that's helping out some, but it takes a while to get into the groove of things when you get paid. But they help with a lot of things. I can't say what they pay for. I can only suggest that they might need, and then they'll make the determination of what they're eligible for.
Okay, that is great. Yeah, I will definitely be sending that out after this meeting. I will make sure to email everybody with the resources that we've been talking about during this session. And we do have about 15 minutes left. So I wanted to kind of hit some of the main questions that I've seen. So what are the requirements for somebody getting assistance from Unlocking Doors? I know you mentioned checking up on people for some time afterwards. If somebody comes to you and said, hey, I have a background and I was in jail 10 years ago, can they still get assistance from you?
Yes.
Or is there any sort of cap? What's the process?
The process is just that you've got a criminal record and that we can pull it up. Sometimes if they're in a different state and I can't pull it up, in Washington, I just had a gal that I'm working with, a real nice lady. She sent me the paperwork so I could start working with her. I said, I can't do anything until I actually see the piece of paper that you've been arrested. I need to have that for our data. We are data driven. So we do ask a lot of questions with that. So, and that tells us, that data tells us a lot what's going on. And we follow these individuals even after they exit our program for 3 years to see if they've been rearrested, because that's going to show the economic impact that these individuals have when they come through Unlocking Doors. Just with every individuals that we keep out here is better to out here than it is in TDCJ, just because of the cost.
If someone has been rearrested, do you ever reach back out to them? And
they do come back.
Okay.
I've got several that have come back. I'm like,
good.
I think, okay, let's try it again. It's just like that last tube of toothpaste that I'm squeezing it all out, and just until I go to that store in the morning, that's what we do here. Okay. So I can't say, no, you've been this, and this. I always tell them, are you serious about your next step? Because if you are, we're still here. If you're not, you need to rethink this, because I don't want to waste your time nor mine, because I've got other people that want to work with us. So yes, and we do encourage family members to call us. I see one of them. Yes. Can family members contact Unlocking Doors before someone is released? Yes, they can. Because I like to talk to them about what's the plan of the family. Because if you had people come in that have caused trouble and drama, and that you're used to this, and some of the family members don't like it, we're going to have conflict at the home. So I like to know what their plan is. What will they do and not do for that individual upon release, or when they get released? Because a lot of times these guys think I'm going to move in with mama. I had a client many years ago, came to, I got hospice set up for him, and I learned, he came in, started screaming at her, cussed her out every single name. The cigarettes weren't good enough. He didn't like vanilla pudding. He only ate chocolate pudding, threw it at her. And that's because it was just, he was used to walking all over. The brother was there. So it was just drama. And I said, you're going to go to the nursing home today. You'll be there by 3:00. This is where you're going to go. Mama can come visit you, but your theatrics isn't going to be accepted anymore. So I like to know with the family members what they'll accept and not accept. It gives me ideas. Are you going to cause havoc in my relationship with my husband or wife? Who's the one that they walk all over? I like to find all those things out, because it gives me a direction where we can send these individuals to. Okay. Do they need the MHMR? Did he take MHMR medications for him before? Did he get over there to Dallas Metro Care or Tarrant County MHMR? And sometimes, I had a lady called me from Austin, and she and I had a very long conversation about, your son is refusing to take his meds. he hits your husband, which blows my mind. He can't come back there because he's now waiting for a pending case. So it was just time to say, you need to give him a pink slip in life and say, good luck. And I wish you luck. We'll meet somewhere along the park. We'll have some chicken. We'll shoot the breeze. There's a lot of things you can talk about. And then you leave. You know, those things. So yes, you have to work with a family unit because it tells me which way are they expecting rent? Are they not expecting rent if they moved in with them? What about food? Who's going to pay for that food? You know, where are those food boxes? You just moved in with your mom and you've been in prison for 7 years. You know, there's a food box program that you can go pick up all this 100 pounds of food down there in the Martin Luther King Center. You need to go down there because you got to bring something back to that house. You have to bring something than just sitting there, taking a shower, using up the cold, all the utilities and the food, and expect everybody to do something. So yeah, we work with all of them.
Great. I did want to make sure to ask before we're out of time today. I saw Alicia asked earlier, is this a DFW program or is it statewide? If someone from a rural county and say East or West Texas or South or wherever, if they wanted to use Unlocking Doors services, do they need to be in the DFW area or how does that work?
Because I worked for the board and I wasn't an officer, I worked for the board, so I know a lot of contacts throughout the state. That's why I keep the map up to say, oh, I've got somebody over here. I've got people out in West Texas, in the Odessa area. I can call up Tiki up there over there. I know over in Tyler in that area, Miss Bernice Matlock very, very well. What's going on? How can I get somebody at the Campbell's plant up there in Paris, Texas, get a job up there? I had a guy call me from Sulphur Springs. They said, Rex, the lady at TWC is not going to help me pay for my WIA grant for trucking because she was told that I can't go out of state. And I said, well, you're off paper. You know, what the blankety blank was she asking an officer that knows nothing about your case? You just said you were a sex offender, has nothing to do with that officer since you are off paper. I'm more concerned that she broke the confidentiality piece of her job to call up an officer that she knows nothing about. She just assumed that he was on paper, which was not the case. So it's just navigating them through that system. Where can I go? And like, it's just Houston, Austin. I still get calls in those areas also.
Great.
Because it's just, I don't know. I can say I might not know, but I can definitely make a call to somebody who does.
Fantastic. And on that note, you gave us your number, you gave us your email.
Yeah.
If somebody is looking to find resources for somebody, do they call you directly? How does somebody get in touch?
They can call me directly, or they can call Martha at our office, and she can help out with that.
Okay.
I'm going to have to get that number because it's a 214 number. It's separate from mine. It's a different number, but yeah, I'll put that up there also for everybody.
Yeah, if you would let me know the best way to get these resources out. Any final questions? We are about out of time today, but if personal favorite success story of someone you've helped that you'd be willing to share.
I've got quite a few. Every day is a success here, but I had a lady that I met in federal prison over the Carswell prison unit. She was in for Medicare fraud. The company that she was working for did a lot of fraud, and they take that serious, I think. That's a joke. And she was at the halfway house, the federal halfway house. They put her there. She got a job at Taylor Farms. And she'd been there working with, she'd been there a little over 9-10 months, making $14 an hour. And she was doing the cleanup work. She went to one of the managers and she said, how much money are you losing with all the food that's on the floor? is it over $100,000? I suspect it's $100,000 a year. I mean, a month, just based on it, because I can probably feed my family for a good 9 months out of this thing, out what's all wasted. And he said, well, actually, it's $130,000. And she said, you don't even know where this product goes to. You don't know why is all this food on the floor. Who are you engaging? She said, you need somebody in quality assurance that we can stop the waste, because what you're paying on that $1 million a year of your waste, you could be putting in towards your employees. And they got wonderful benefits where she was at. But she went to that manager and said that. Well, now she's putting all that into place right now. She goes, you'd see boxes of cheese come in. Where did it go? It just went somewhere. There was no tracking system. She goes, I'm going to have everything tracked. I thought, you're the one that can do that, because you can do Excel sheets. Ecstatic. But she went making $14 an hour to making $52,000 a year. Wow. Just watching, observing. And so that is important. It just all depends on what they've done. It's just everybody. I've got a lot of success stories.
That's fantastic.
And I try to let them know, if success is built on that individual, each case. And that's what I like about it. We don't put them on a square box. We work with, hey, today I want one. Today I've got, I'm happy with just this, employment, or I'm just happy with whatever it is. We get excited, and those things mean a lot. I've got a guy that's learning a success story where he's actually working on getting his journeyman's license as an electrician. Went through class, aggravated. And I'm careful that I let people know not to judge too much, because we can't be throwing rocks at glass houses. My mother used to say. Got a guy that is this one I was telling about, the electrician, real quick, like his ex-wife at the time, showed up at his doorstep, higher than a kite. He had custody of his daughter. And an altercation came up. The police came up. And because the mother was there was already custody issue going on. They wanted to give the daughter to the ex-wife. And he says, no, you're not taking my daughter. You're leaving her alone. I have full custody of it. The police officers weren't listening. And the altercation started. And of course, we've got assault of a public servant trying to protect his own daughter. He went to prison for 7 years. Missed 7 years of his daughter's life. When he came back home, his daughter's living with him at 14. And I tell that story because a lot of people see something behind a criminal history and make judgment. And I have to remind people, these parents, these people still go to church. They still participate in our community, and we still need them because they're very vital to keep our community going. Mm. That's very important.
Absolutely.
So, yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rex, for all of this information. Thank you, everybody, for coming and joining us for Dallas Jobseekers Club. I'm going to share just briefly some of our resources. Of course, we will send out all of the stuff that Rex has shared today. I'll send that out in an email to everybody who attended, but wanted to make sure everybody knew our upcoming programs for job seekers next week, same time, same place. We have Jewish Family Service coming to Dallas Jobseekers Club, and they will be sharing about making your essential resume. Then we'll take a week off for Thanksgiving. We didn't think anyone would come to Jobseekers Club on Thanksgiving. So the week after that, December 3rd, we'll be hosting our career coach, Christine Horseman, again, and she'll be talking about your profile on LinkedIn and how to use that in your job search. But I want to make sure I will post this link in the chat right now also, but we do have listings of job openings that are available now. We have all of our past job seeker clubs that have been recorded that you can view for any number of resources, and you are able to sign up for our job seeker newsletter. We try to keep that current and informative, comes out every Monday. So I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of those sources. Here's that link, and I will be sending that out as well. Again, okay, you've got the number there for
Yes.
Unlocking Doors. I appreciate it. And I will send that out to everybody. But I think that is all that I have. Again, thanks so much, Rex.
Thank you guys
Really
for having
appreciate
us.
absolutely. And thank you so much for all the work that you're doing in the community, the
Appreciate it.
resource that you're providing to formerly incarcerated people. So
Yes.
again, thanks everybody.
Okay. Thank you so much. Give me a call if you got any questions.